れより見たいね、武道大会。見たいね、武道大会。
そう来なくちゃな。やろうぜ、武道大会。
決めた。やろう。
おい、やったー。あんがとな、ゼンちゃん。超盛り上がっから楽しみにしてくれよな。
In the manga, we get our story beginning with Goku working as a farmer. We get some text saying that the world has moved on, and basically the world's oblivious to what happened with the Zama stuff. As a lot of the major events in Dragon Ball, the world has no idea what's happening. In the anime, however, we first get this small scene with the two Zeno-Sambas. They're playing literal chess with worlds, and I really think this sets the stage quite well, showing how they basically play with the universe as like their toy. We also get an introduction to the new music here. So not just the amazing background music, which is so many leagues ahead of the previous story arcs in Dragon Ball Super. The background music is ridiculously good. We also get that new opening song, and it is a banger. Like, I am serious. For me, the opening to Dragon Ball Super of this story arc, I put it up there with the two original Dragon Ball Z openings. In that, it's that high-paced, like really upbeat action kind of song. All of the openings in Dragon Ball I love. I love, from Makafushigi Adventure, even to Dan Dan in Dragon Ball GT. But the two, Chala Hedgehog, We Got a Power are like real like action-oriented songs for me. And this is no different. When I hear the song, I feel like, all right, even if I'm working out at the gym and this comes on the playlist, I'm ready to go. I love it so much, in fact, that I bought the CD when it came out. This is quite a sweet CD, 2 discs. So the first one has various versions of the song, including the various instrumental versions you hear as background music. And then the second disc is a DVD with the opening song without the credits. Oh, pretty sweet. Following this, we get the exact same scene in both the manga and the anime, which is Goku's working. These guys try to rob him. He stops them. Then he contacts Whis saying he wants to train. This is where the first major difference happens. In the anime, Whis and Beerus are just chilling alone. Goku's like, I want to come train with you. Sure, cool. Vegeta's like, I can't go with you, Goku. I'm waiting for my daughter to be born. Fair enough. But in the manga, Vegeta's already up there training with Whis. He then shows off what he can do. Beerus sees it, and he's like, all right, show me what you got. Now, this is important for one reason. We have never seen Beerus fight against Super Saiyan Blue, only Super Saiyan God. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan Blue, Beerus beats him. So you're like, oh, okay. But then Vegeta goes perfect Super Saiyan Blue. If you haven't been keeping up with this series, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So in the manga, Super Saiyan Blue is a transformation that Goku and Vegeta could not perfect. It had a lot of flaws, and it wasn't a great transformation, which is weird if you've only ever watched the anime, because you're like, wait, so Super Saiyan Blue is like the pinnacle of their power at this point in the story. But yeah, in the manga, it was not. It wasn't until the Zama story arc where Goku revealed he had finally learned to perfect it and therefore use it at its full potential. Vegeta does the same here. While fighting against Beerus, Vegeta shows he can go Super Saiyan Blue perfect as well. And he has his little line he says where there's nothing Kakarot can do that I can't do. He then fights against Beerus on, kind of on the same page for a little bit. He gets a lucky punch in, gets cocky, Beerus lays him out. This is important now because what it's telling the audience is that gods of destruction are so powerful that even perfect Super Saiyan Blue is not enough to defeat them. That is insane, but it makes sense when we eventually do meet Toppo and, they struggle against him. Super Saiyan Blue is not strong enough to beat a god of destruction. I think that's just really interesting. Anyway, this is where Goku then contacts saying he's going to come up there to train. Vegeta, you going to hang around? Can't hang around, gotta go back and wait for my daughter to be born. Fair enough. Now we're getting on the same page where basically Goku's going to Whis and Beerus. Vegeta's out of the picture for now. Where this takes us, of course, is where Goku brings up that tournament that Zeno-sama mentioned. He's like, hey, what about that? Both versions, they're like, yo, stop. That's not something we want to joke about. Just leave it be. However, the anime decides to take that extra step of comedy and silliness. One thing that Dragon Ball Super does a lot is, when Beerus gets upset about something, he's like, I'm going to destroy you. And he'll actually light up an attack that he's about to destroy them, but it's really just play for comedy. He's not going to kill Goku. He's just more or less, threatening to not do something. The manga, he never does this. So in the manga, Goku's like, I want to contact, Zeno-sama about that. And he's like, no, I'm warning you, don't do it. And then Goku does it. Here, he's like, I'm going to destroy you if you do. And then Goku goes on to do what you would do to a dog where you pretend to throw something and the dog looks around for it. he actually takes the pager, he pretends to throw it. Vegeta's just like, where to go, where to go, where to go? And then he reveals he had it behind his back. So they go definitely more the comedic route in the anime, unfortunately for that. But it still ends up with the same thing of Goku contacts, and therefore we get our meeting with Goku and Zeno-sama to set the stage. So in both versions, Goku reminds Zeno-sama of the tournament, and therefore he's like, yeah, I forgot about that. However, there's one problem. Zeno-sama has no idea really what to expect of this type of thing. He had brought it up, but he doesn't know much about fighting, so fair enough. Goku, in like a day or so, we're going to have a little tournament, like a demo, to show Zeno-sama what to expect. Find 2 other fighters. We're going to get 3 fighters from another universe, and you guys are going to fight. Easy peasy. Goku leaves. Okay, see you guys later. However, in the manga, Goku never leaves. He stays right there, and Zeno-sama's like, all right, this is interesting. He summons all of like the gods of destruction, the angels and stuff from all the universes, summon them there, right there on the spot, and then brings up the idea of the tournament. And he's like, I want to have an expo. He's like, I want to get an idea of what to expect. Gods of destruction, get down in the ring and fight. This is bonkers, this scene. So it is legit. All of the gods of destruction fighting each other. It gets so insane that at one point they're just like, that's it, stop. And Zeno-sama can't enjoy this because the fights are so intense and fast-paced, he can't even understand what's happening. So again, playing that whole gods of destructions are that powerful. So when gods of destruction are fighting each other, it's just so intense. Like someone like Zeno-sama is basically like, I have no idea what's happening right now. He's thinking that's it. I'm just going to cancel the tournament. Goku's like, whoa, wait. He's like, I can, if it's someone like me fighting, I promise you'll enjoy it. You'll have a good time. So they're like, well, you're in luck. We got somebody here. Now, we're jumping ahead because Topo's already there. They introduced Topo. He's not hiding under a cloak like in the anime. Belmont comes right out and he's like, yeah, this is my apprentice. I'm training him to be like the next god of destruction. They come right out and say that. There's no surprise, anything like that. As you know, in the anime, which we haven't even got to yet, he's hiding under a cloak and then gets his like kind of a reveal, and then Goku and him fight. But we're going to take a break from this because the anime, we got to catch up in the anime. So yeah, Goku and Topo in the manga are about to fight. Pause there. Let's get back to the anime. Goku heads to Earth. He's like, I need 2 fighters. He goes to Vegeta, and Vegeta's like, can't wait for my kid to be born. I can't do it. He's like, what about your son? And we kind of get that comedic moment. He's like, I don't think Goten's up to that. He's just a kid. He's like, oh, my son, you mean Gohan? And Vegeta just looking at him like he's an idiot. So, again, I know that's one of the big criticisms of Super is Goku is an idiot in the anime. He is an idiot. Please read the manga. He's not an idiot in the manga. But yeah, so he goes, he recruits Gohan and then, of course, recruits Boo. We get the 3 of them. They head up there.
それでは第一試合出場選手部舞台にどうぞ
All right, so in the anime now, Goku has his team and they head up. They will face against 3 members of Universe 9, the 3 wolves. And yeah, we get some fights. It's honestly not bad. So the anime is very different in this story as we'll go through it. And I want to make this clear, like this for me, like the previous story arc, hell, even the Universe 6 versus 7, the anime has a lot that I like. But honestly, this arc in particular, I like a lot in the anime, probably more than the manga at some point. So far in the beginning, the manga is far superior, but when we get to the actual tournament, there are many things in the anime that it does superior, to be honest. But anyway, let's get back to it. You get through your 3 fights, and as I said, let's get back to Topo, because that's where things get interesting. Goku fights Topo. In the anime, they go all out, they fight each other. Goku then goes, of course, his maximum, which is an anime exclusive up until this point, which is Super Saiyan Blue with Kaioken. And then the Grand Priest steps in. He's like, that's enough. Save it for the real fight. And we don't actually see who wins. Goku and Topo are about to use their full power and clash, but it stopped. So in the manga, Goku does his usual like gradual transformation when he fights an opponent. Like, here's Super Saiyan. This is Super Saiyan 2, 3. He goes all the way up to basically Super Saiyan Blue. Topo knocks him out of bounds. Goku loses the match. Like, this is huge. The anime, you're like, okay, this Topo guy's strong, but I wonder if Goku goes all out, who would win? Here, no, Topo beats Goku. It's like right out there. And when Goku goes back to report to everybody and they're talking about it with Vegeta and stuff, he's like, I lost. And that makes Vegeta and everybody go, wait, what? So it's like, it really sets that stage that there are going to be guys here maybe we can't beat. And that, I think giving the audience that information ahead of time works really well, because we're going into this tournament, we're going to see tons of fighters, and we already know that Goku has lost once. that puts us in like greater stakes, I think. So the manga definitely does this point a bit better. In the anime, Topo is also, for some reason, like a dick. I have no idea why. You know, he does a whole Goku's like a villain, you know, because he devised this whole tournament so he could wipe out all the other universes. You know, like he has this like kind of vision of him. Goku at the end of the fight, you know, he's like, hey, that was a good fight. And he's like looking at him. He doesn't even compliment him on the fight. The manga, they're really kind of cool. And he's like, Goku's like, hey, you got me. And he's like, no, you're really strong as well. But like, they're kind of like, Topo's cool. He's not a dick. And then Topo's like, I'm just going to let you know, though, there's someone out there in my universe that's even stronger than me. And Goku's like, really? He's like, actually, just between you and me, he's stronger than the gods of destruction. And Goku's like, what? Also in the anime, as I just mentioned before with the manga, Belmont comes out and says Topo's a god of destruction. We don't know that yet in the anime. The anime really doesn't reveal that until he's fighting Goku and Vegeta later on. So like it is just not revealed until way later in the story. But the manga came right out and told us who Topo is, etc. I get to the recruitment part of the story. Goku needs a team of 10 members. In both versions, Vegeta's like, oh, I can't. I'm waiting for my kid to be born. And Whis does his powers to make the baby pop out. And Bulma immediately is like, oh my God, the next time I get pregnant, she's like, I'm going to call for you. So I was like, it's just, a funny little moment, I think. But yeah, now he's got Vegeta on his team. Gohan in the anime is already on his team because Gohan had just participated in the expo. Therefore, Gohan's already in. Now we got basically Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Buu. We actually have 5 members already. And Gohan and Goku together go to start recruiting the rest of the team. It's actually Goku and Gohan who go visit Kuririn. And then they get Kuririn and 18 to join them. We get a lot of cool stuff with like a sparring match. We get Gohan who's like, Goku, of course, is all, Kuririn's my boy. He's joining us. And Gohan's like, I don't know about this. He's like, you've been out of the game a long time. I don't think you can do it. So like, again, the anime just has some really cool stuff. And then Kuririn's like, all right, I'll show you what I can do. And we have Kuririn versus Gohan. There are those out there who just need to be like, this is effing stupid. Like Gohan would destroy Kuririn. Yeah, of course. But I think for this tournament, Kame-Sennin and Kuririn's inclusion needs to be explained, as well as Tenshinhan. Something in Dragon Ball that has always been true is power level versus fighting ability. And it is important that, yes, power levels are a thing. If a character is super powerful, it's really hard to take them down. Doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are. But then there's the martial arts part of it, I guess, where you might not be able to physically take down Gohan. Kuririn, in a million years, if he punches Gohan, it's going to be like, you or me punching Superman. It's not going to do anything. But Kuririn using his brains to knock Gohan out of bounds is how he could win. And that's what I think Kuririn showing, Gohan and Goku being like, yo, I might not be on your level, but I might be able to knock a few guys out for you guys. They don't have any other choices, don't forget. So it's not like, they're just finding whatever friends they have that can fight. And Kuririn might not be on their level at power, but with his fighting abilities and brains, he might be able to at least knock a few guys out. And I like that they add that to this. Now, of course, in the anime, it keeps going, and we get Goku versus Kuririn. And you get that moment where, 18 joins in, and they're trying to do their attack. It's just like emotional stuff there. Goku and Gohan, of course, they would destroy Kuririn in a fight, but there's just that emotional part of it, showing the heart that Kuririn has. And Kuririn, for those out there, who watch my videos, is one of my favorite characters. And it's more because of who he is as a character. He might not be the strongest character in the series, but he's one of those characters that always steps up to the plate. If shit goes down, like Kuririn's like, all right, I'll be there. I'm like, let's go. And I think that the anime does that well in showing that, as opposed to, the manga just gets him on board, but doesn't have any of this, I guess, extra drama.
Kuririn! やっぱおめえはオラの一番の仲間だ。頼むぜ、クリリン18号。18号さん。
So in both versions, after recruiting Kuririn, Goku's like, by the way, do you guys know where 17 is? And then, you have Kuririn saying, why don't you just go ask Kami-sama? I mean, he's our friend after all. So that's the same in both versions. And Goku does go to Dende. And in both versions, we do get Dende saying, oh, about that kid, he's growing up quite strong. Goku's like, what kid? And then reminding him, don't forget when you destroyed Buu that you wanted him to be reincarnated. You want him to be reborn as a good person. This is important. For years during the making of Dragon Ball Super, there were lots and lots of theories online saying that Toriyama wanted to completely redo the end of the manga. It was something he said in an interview that, doing Super, he's having so much fun doing Super that by the time he gets to the end of the manga, of course, it doesn't make as much sense anymore. That whole 10-year gap, thing where at that point, Goku and Vegeta are gods, for God's sake. You know what I mean? So it's like their powers are just ridiculous at that point. And it's hard to imagine, that story actually playing out the same way. But what Toriyama does here is tells us that no, things will play out pretty much the same way. We don't ever in that 10-year gap see how strong everybody is, Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta. We don't actually see it. So they are possibly ridiculously powerful at that point. But what he wants to show the audience is that this is still going to connect. Don't worry, because Oob is a character still. And I do like that in both the manga and the anime for Dragon Ball Super, we are shown that Oob does exist still, and it's not being changed. In the anime, there's actually one extra thing, and that's like Goku spars also against Majin Buu, and it's just like an extra thing. It's not really necessary. In the anime and the manga, we do get, as I mentioned, some stuff with Universe 12. In the anime, Jiren is shown just somewhere meditating, quiet, while the Pride Troopers are fighting some villain. In the manga, we're getting a similar scene play out, except Jiren actually shows up and talks about it. And initially, he's like, I don't want to do your tournament. I have no interest in this. To the point that Belmont has to get involved to basically tell Jiren, you got to do it. So the manga definitely has a little bit more with Universe 12, I guess, drama-wise. Whereas they just in the anime suggest Jiren's somewhere meditating right now, but he'll join us. Don't worry, and obviously he does join them.
See, now that's some bullshit.
Now we get to Goku meeting Android 17. In both versions, there are poachers there. In the anime, Goku arrives and 17 is in the middle of fighting them. Goku then watches, joins in, and they both take down the poachers together, and then they start talking. In the manga, Goku shows up and 17's not there yet, so Goku starts fighting the poachers first. Then he puts on one of the poachers' masks. 17 finally shows up. He thinks Goku's one of the poachers, and they fight. I do not get this. This is like really weird, this part of the manga. I just really was like, why? I think the anime version of that is a little bit more simple. Now I just finished praising the anime. It's time to poop on the anime a bit. So in the anime, he tries to convince 17 to join them, and he's like, all right, let's spar. Let's test out our powers. And we get possibly one of the worst moments in Dragon Ball Super. 17 is strong, okay? 17 has been training for years, okay. 17 is as strong as Super Saiyan Blue. That's bullshit. That's just dumb. There's no way in hell he should be on par with Goku at Super Saiyan Blue. It is possibly one. I remember watching for the first time, being like, I'm so happy to see Android 17 in this story, but that makes no sense. In the manga, Goku goes Super Saiyan 3 and fights on par with 17 before they stop fighting. That is so much more believable because, let's not forget, the last time we saw Android 17, he wasn't even stronger than Super Saiyan, slightly stronger than Super Saiyan, not Super Saiyan 2. Because Super Vegeta, who was basically like stronger than Super Saiyan, but still Super Saiyan, would have easily taken out 17. Therefore, 17 being able to go on par with Super Saiyan 3 is enough believability that he made that kind of progress in this amount of time. And I like that. I think it works well in this. The whole Super Saiyan God in Blue, I think the anime was going a little overboard to being like, he's in the game, he can do it. It's like, we don't need him to be that strong. Look at everybody else in the story. Majin Buu, Piccolo, Gohan, like none of them are in the God level of power, but they're all there. So I think the anime didn't need to show Blue versus 17. It just was unnecessary. In both versions, 17 initially turns down Goku's offer. Now, in the manga, it is handled extremely well. Goku says, hey, 18 and Krillin are joining. We get flashback. We actually get a flashback of after the Cell Games, after Sharon's wishes, 18 finds 17. And he's like, she's like, what are you going to do now? And he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, what about the bomb? She's like, the little ball guy, he had the bomb removed from us. We don't have that anymore. We then have 17 telling Goku, if Kuririn's joining, then I'm going to join. I owe him a debt. Damn, that's really good. I just really like that. He's like, he feels that he owes Kuririn for what he did. And that's what gets him on board. Though he does throw in the stipulation of, if we do win this, I want to cruise around the world kind of thing. And Goku's like, no worries. The anime, unfortunately, first has space poachers come, and we get this whole long thing. We don't really get the whole he owes Kuririn, but we do definitely get Goku promising him the trip around the world, all that stuff, and saying, well, he says you can wish for anything you want. You can wish for a trip around the world. So we do still kind of get some similar beats, but the manga just really hits that. Ooh, when he's like, I owe Kuririn, so I got to do this. And he's like, it's just really nice how they handle it. But back to praising the anime, you're going to see me do this throughout this whole, part of this story for this series, in that sometimes the manga does it better, but sometimes the anime does it better. Here, the anime does it better because we have Gohan and Piccolo training. They're doing their training, and when we're getting to the end of the training, he's like, Piccolo, I want to ask you something. He's like, can we work together for the tournament? He's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, no, I'm not talking about like student and teacher. He's like, I'm talking about equals. I want us to do like combination attacks together, like equals. Piccolo smiles and he's like, of course. Just showing that Gohan is, looking from a teacher's point of view, his student has grown up and he's no longer this little boy looking down. He's now up here and he's like, I want us to be on the same page. And Piccolo's like, and for Piccolo's point of view, Gohan's way stronger than him. So Piccolo's like, I'm holding you back. And Gohan's like, no, you're not. This scene is gorgeous. It is a wonderful scene in the anime. That just does not exist in the manga.
大会までまだ時間がある。俺とやってみないか。残りの時間でどこまで強くなれるのか。
もっと強く。はい、お願いします。あ、だったら合体技とかコンビネーションとかを作りませんか？
お前とか？
はい、絶対に武器になると思うんです。
面白そうだな。いいだろう。
So in the anime, we also have some extra stuff with, of course, with Tenshin Han and Kame Sennin. To get them on the team, there's just like this whole extra story arc. It's just not in the manga. And I don't think it's needed. So it's not bad per se, but it also doesn't do enough to hype up the characters. Maybe Kame Sennin, because Kame Sennin decides that because of his perviness that he needs to purge that from him, because without that weakness, he is a much better fighter. So, that part of it, I guess, is kind of cool because it does pay off in the anime later on. But otherwise, the whole Tenshin Han bit is not really necessary, unfortunately. But in the anime, right away around this time while Goku's recruiting, we do get that phone call that Bulma gets that Boo is in this deep sleep and nothing can wake him. Oh no, Boo is out. It's random, but it does happen in the manga as well, just not yet. And apparently it was just their way of getting Boo out of the story arc, was to say, he's sleeping. I don't know why they went this route. I guess the only way I can think of it is Toriyama had no way of how to use Boo for this. A lot of times that's what happened with Toriyama, is he didn't know how to use someone like Gohan, for example, in the Boo saga. And that's why the character was pushed aside. It's not a lie. So he probably maybe just didn't know what to do with Boo for this story arc and decided, all right, I'm not going to use him. That's why he does that whole Expo thing's only in the anime. He didn't really, Toriyama did nothing with Boo in the manga. So the manga does handle Caulifla's introduction a bit better. They're shown kind of chasing down a group of elite soldiers. I guess you can call them like the Saiyan elites, basically. And they're shown that easily that Caulifla and Kale can stop these guys. They're like no match for them. They're like, even Kale, they're like no match for these guys. Kale, though, is done without her going that berserker mode. It's more just like lightning speed. Like she just flashes, takes something, and she's back on the other side. So I do think that's kind of cool, just showing that there's something more to this girl. We just don't know what yet. Anyway, we do get, Kabe comes out. He's like, I need you for this tournament. But Caulifla, of course, turns down Kabe. He goes Super Saiyan and fights. The manga is far more serious here. Like, Kabe knows the stakes of this tournament, and he is not playing around. So he actually fights Caulifla very seriously, showing her, I can teach you how to do what I'm doing right now, because she's no match for him in his Super Saiyan form, of course. And the manga just really handles it quite well. The anime is a bit sillier as per usual. He does have the bit where he tries to make her turn Super Saiyan by yelling at her like Vegeta did to him. He tries to show off the speed he can do now that he's Super Saiyan. And what shocks him, of course, is that in all of this, Kale manages to steal back the jewelry from him without him knowing what happened. And again, telling the audience that this girl is there's something more to her.
できた。すごい。こんなにも早くできるなんて。
悪くないね。
力が溢れる。
In the anime, we do get another pretty cool scene, and that's Goku versus Gohan, something we have never really seen, except for if you consider their training for the Cell games in the Room of Spirit and Time. But so Gohan goes Ultimate because now Gohan's done some training again. He can do Ultimate again. So cool. Goku goes Super Saiyan, and Goku is fighting on par with Ultimate Gohan just in base Super Saiyan form. It's believable. I don't care what anyone says. You can't say, "Oh, that's just weird power scale." No. I mean, this is a Goku that trains every effing day. He never slacks on his training Goku. That's not in his nature. Gohan has slacked for a long time again. Therefore, it's very believable that Goku at this point is leagues ahead of Gohan. As the fight goes on, Gohan gradually gets stronger. This is also really cool because that is part of Gohan's power, is that he literally just gets stronger. He's almost like Broly, just not as powerful or fast as Broly's growth. Broly, obviously, in the middle of a fight, grows way too fast, like a little too fast. But yeah, Gohan's doing the same thing here. Is as they're fighting, he's starting to get stronger against Goku. Goku's realizing, okay, Gohan's getting stronger. He then stops and tells his father, he's like, stop pulling back. I know you can do more than this. And Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue, Kaioken, all that stuff. Gohan loses the fight here. And it's fine. He's no match for Goku. He shouldn't be a match for Goku. But it's the point that he doesn't give up. Even after losing, he literally tries to do one more thing, even though he's completely done at that point. And it's just showing Gohan's determination. I just think, again, the anime, these little things the anime does that they just do so well is the emotional beats in the story sometimes are really good. After Gohan comes to, Goku basically says, you are going to be the leader of our team, because he believes that Gohan is just, strategically the best one for this. I don't know why, but anyway, that's what happens in the anime.
一緒に行こうぜ。もっと酒よ。
From here, we do get in both versions Goku having to come clean about the tournament, about what the true stakes are. And of course, everybody gets upset at him, like, why didn't you just tell us from the start that, we were going to be wiped from existence? The manga gives us one of the most important lines of dialogue ever in Dragon Ball. And it's basically Goku turning to Whis and saying, hey, Whis, is it possible that there are, more powerful beings out in the universe that we don't know about? And Whis is like, yeah. He's like, to be honest, not even the gods know the existence of all beings in their own universes. So there are possibly people out in this universe that we don't know anything about that are somewhere out there, and they're really, really powerful. Why I like this is like Toriyama kind of giving himself a safety to basically say, if in the future, which they do in Dragon Ball Super manga, pull out of their asses characters that are somewhere in space that are like ridiculously overpowered, he's like, I had we say that sometimes there are people out there the gods don't even know about, just to be like, okay. Because if he comes right out and says, no, the gods know everything, then it's harder to introduce new powerful characters in the same universe. Universe 7 shouldn't have anybody powerful if the gods know all about Universe 7. But by saying that, Whis is like, I don't actually know everybody in this universe, safe. So I do think it's a kind of clever line that he adds to the manga. Goku recruiting Frieza is similar at first in that in both versions he goes to Hell to visit Frieza and be like, you want to get out of here? That part is completely the same. Now, the manga does give us, while Goku's away trying to recruit Frieza, a really cool thing. Gohan shows up, Vegeta looks at him and smiles. I love this friendly Vegeta that we're being given here, and he's like, I almost didn't recognize you. You've gotten so much stronger. I love friendly Vegeta instead of him just being a dick for no reason a lot of the times, which the anime does. So like the anime does like two things with the characters a lot of times is Goku is an idiot, Vegeta's an asshole. And it's just like, at this point, after this many years, Vegeta shouldn't be that much of a dick anymore. Like sometimes a little bit of like, who he was is okay, but like, I mean, he lives with these people. They probably like eat together all the time and hang out together all the time. He's probably friendly with them at this point. And I just like that. That's such a much better version of Vegeta, I think. Now in the anime, we all know that Frieza and Goku first arrive back. Frieza then has this whole communication with like one of the universes, and they're like, kill Goku, and you can join our universe, so you'll be safe when Universe 7 is wiped out. And then Frieza, being like, I never trusted you guys, blah blah blah. And it's like this whole extra like subplot. And then he and Goku have this little sparring match. This sparring match is in fact canon because in the manga we don't see anything of this scene. However, Goku and Frieza teleport there, and when they arrive, they're both beaten up, and everybody's just like, what the hell happened to you guys? So the same thing just happened off scene. We just did not see them fight, but they do fight in both versions. In the anime, we do get a lot more with Universe 6. So we get, now that Caulifla can go Super Saiyan, we even get Kale showing her green aura for, like a little bit, like already telling the audience that she can do this. So, we're just getting a lot more of that. And we get in the anime probably one of my favorite scenes in all of Dragon Ball history, Piccolo and 17 meeting again. I remember the first time I saw this, my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, oh, like, I think all Dragon Ball Z fans out there will always say that 17 versus Piccolo is one of the coolest fights ever. And then when you get them standing up and looking at each other like they haven't seen each other in ages, and then they put the hands out, they smile. He's like, I'm like, glad to have you on the team. It's one of the coolest things. These are two guys, they fought each other before, trying to kill each other, but it's been a long time. They're both on the same page, and let's do it. I love this scene. It's I put this so high up there in like all of Dragon Ball. The anime does have one more thing I want to point out, and in my recent tribute to Hiro Mitsuru, we get Bulma's final spoken line in Dragon Ball. And so Bulma saying goodbye to everybody and good luck. That is the final time that the actress Hiro Mitsuru would portray Bulma in canon. So I just think it's a kind of a bittersweet ending to this scene. So what do you guys think of the story arc overall? Have you only ever seen the anime, or have you read the manga as well? Share your thoughts below and look forward to part 2 coming soon. As always, like, subscribe, share, turn notifications on so you never miss a video, and see you soon.